My values have not changed.
Reduce red meat specifically. Yes.
The Boston Marathon bomber. They should be able to vote.
I think we should have that conversation.
Abolish ICE.
Yeah.
Would you ban offshore drilling?
Yes, I'm in favor of banning fracking.
I am prepared to pass a Green New Deal.
I support a mandatory buyback program. We're not going to treat people who are undocumented cross the border as criminals. The idea that more police equals more safety, that's just wrong.
Policing, as we know, goes all the way back to slave patrols and that idea.
Yeah, you are absolutely right.
Where do you stand on defund the police?
We need to take a look at these budgets.
Do you ban plastic straws?
I think we should.
70 to 80% tax rate.
I think that's fantastic.
Chipping now to the Minnesota Freedom Fund.
How dare we speak Merry Christmas?
And yeah, I am radical. I do believe that we need to get radical about what we are doing.
Enemy territory here. What's up, everybody? Hello, good evening. It's Saturday Night Live for us, and it's time for Pop in Politics. We are talking about the latest in hot topics, news, and entertainment. I'm KJ, along with my amazing co-host. Back tonight, we have Yana.
Hello.
And Shelly E.
Hi.
All right. As I always say, join the conversation by leaving a comment on YouTube or Twitter. We will check the comments periodically throughout the show. And don't just comment, subscribe. If you miss us here on YouTube, you can catch us on Rumble. We're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. Guys, we are an independent media, and if you want to support what we do, your super chats and donations go a long way in helping us produce conservative content. Any amount is appreciated. This is not just a podcast. It is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that understand we're living in urgent times. There's a target on our backs because we value freedom. But we must continue to stand. Let's stand together. Hit that subscribe button and that notification bell and join us in this rallying call for freedom. All right, ladies, let's set it off. So you guys saw at the top of the show, we have that clip of Kamala Harris. So we're going to talk a little bit about her. I really want to talk about this crazy clip Joy Reid put out about Trump. And then we're going to get into Nancy Pelosi's interview on Bill Maher. We're going to push back against that. And lastly, we want to talk to you guys about the Reagan movie. We saw it today, and we're going to give you our authentic review. All right. So first, I know we did talk about Kamala Harris's interview on CNN, but I didn't get you ladies' reaction. What did you think about it, Shelly?
I thought it was as fluffy as a jar of marshmallows. The marshmallow sauce, that's how fluffy it was. It was just fluffy and it sounded sweet. That's all I thought, literally.
Yeah, Yana, you saw in the beginning we did that where she flip-flopped so much on multiple topics and issues. What did you think of her interview? It was only 16 minutes, mind you. Over 30 days we waited for her to do some type of press, give some type of analysis on her plan, policy. 16 minutes is all she gave us.
Yeah, it was just a collection of various, I did hear slogans. I heard some kind of like word salad. There are times when I couldn't understand what she was saying. She did talk, when she talked about fracking, she said something about, I stand on my decision or on my position. And it's like, how are we supposed to believe you when you went back and forth on that decision? And on so many other decisions, when it comes to immigration as well, when all of a sudden now she wants to take illegal immigration seriously. It's ridiculous. And the funniest thing for me was in the beginning when Tim Walz was just sitting there just like looking at her and like smiling was so bizarre. And then when he spoke, that was just crazy too. Like he just seems like an embarrassment.
Yeah, it was lie after lie after lie. I do want to acknowledge our super chatters tonight. Thank you so much. Here we have Tijuana Border Jumper.
Okay.
Just love the channel. MAGA. Yes. MAGA. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is why I wanted to get into this Joy Reid interview. So I'm not even sure. Has Kamala Harris updated her website yet?
Nope. Nope. It still looks the same. It looks the same.
Just put our parties aside. Would you even do business with someone, that didn't have a website? I mean, they don't even have what they plan on doing. You don't know anything about, the job that they're going to do. You just know that they're there to do something, and they don't have any type of information on the website about what they're going to do.
Zero. They are still riding this wave. I think that's starting to fizzle, but nevertheless, they're still doing it, and mostly because the media did not challenge them on it. Not one question did Dana Bash ask her about her website. Why is it not updated? I mean, zero. Dana Bash, I don't know. She might as well have been talking to a second grader.
Yeah, nothing. And that's what I was wondering. So this brings me to Joy Reid. So Joy Reid did a TikTok recently where she is going in. I mean, she is a nutty. She is going in on Trump, and particularly Michaelah Montgomery. So for you guys who may not know, Michaelah Montgomery was the young African-American girl that was at his Georgia rally. And she did a spectacular speech, rallying for Trump and why people should vote for Trump. She was also the same young lady who he got a lot of fanfare about in the Chick-fil-A in Georgia. And so she's been doing a lot of interviews lately. We want to get her on this show. But she was talking about how good Trump has been for America when he was in office. Here comes Joy Reid, and she is pushing back against that. So she put out this ridiculous interview regarding that. So take a look here. Here it is.
Take a look here.
Okay, 1 second.
Elevate her and make this a conversation. On to this. So let's start off with.
Let me refresh this, guys. 1 second. Okay. Okay, let me see here.
This claim about Donald Trump's platinum plan.
But what other policies that do you want to highlight that Trump is pushing for his campaign that really showed themselves to you?
I would just focus on the fact that when he did not secure the re-election, there was a platinum plan on the table that he consulted with.
Oops, you couldn't hear it?
We could.
Oh, I don't know what's going on. 1 second. Let me go back out and go back in. Okay. 1 second. Okay, here we are. Give me one moment. All right, now here we are.
I feel like I do need to respond to this with some serious, since the Jasmine brand decided to, elevate her and make this a conversation. So let's start off with this claim about Donald Trump's platinum plan.
But what other policies that do you want to highlight that Trump is pushing for his campaign that really showed themselves to you?
I would just focus on the fact that when he did not secure the reelection, there was a platinum plan on the table that he consulted with Ice Cube and a couple other prominent Black business owners.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mentioned it in my speech, but of course the Shade Room didn't post that, so nobody knows about it.
Mm-hmm.
But that increases $500 billion of capital in the Black community, brings back 500,000 jobs, gives incentives to big companies to hire felons. Gives incentives to, of course, you know, there's opportunity zones, which are mentioned, which gives incentives to developers to come and revamp the area. The fact that Trump just has a plan, period, for Black people, and Kamala does not.
Okay, let's talk about it. Here is the Platinum Plan, and you can see that it was on Donald Trump's 2020 campaign website. That CDN at the top shows this is the old campaign website from 2020. Here's page 2 of it. You can see it in all its glory. It describes some of the things that you heard this young lady talk about regarding Donald Trump's alleged plans for Black America. But I want you to check out on this CNN headline about Donald Trump's proposed plans for Black America. I want you to just take a look here at the date on this article. That is October 7, 2020. That's literally a month before Election Day in 2020. By then, Donald Trump had been president of the United States for nearly 4 whole years. So you're saying he only launched his plan for Black America at the end of his first 4 years? What was he doing the other 3.5 years? Did he not have a plan for Black America before that? And please don't say historic funding for HBCUs, because that was passed by the Democratic Congress. And don't say the STEMI also passed by Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and them. That wasn't Trump. And now I just want to show you Donald Trump's current campaign website. Okay, here we go. It's going to scroll right in front of me right now. Take a look, and tell me, stop me when you see the Platinum Plan. Just going to keep scrolling. Do you see the Platinum Plan? Do you see that in his current website? This is his current website. Do you see the Platinum Plan? I don't see the Platinum Plan. Do you see the Platinum Plan? What happened to the Platinum Plan? What I do see, however, is this. Donald Trump's current plan, which is in his current website, where he's showing his policies that he would implement in his second Trump term, cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, radical gender ideology, and other inappropriate racial or sexual or political content on our children. Sounds to me like he wants to ban Black history and anything that looks or smells like the 1619 Project. Is that what you're asking Black folk to be down with? Because I don't think that's the Platinum Plan. And in addition to that, what you are asking Black voters to support is somebody who has a long history of being accused of flat-out racism, specifically against Black people. This is from the Associated Press. The federal government sued Donald Trump and his father's real estate company, which is the same company he runs now. He just runs it without the daddy because the daddy's gone, for allegedly discriminating against Black apartment seekers in the 1970s. Black pastors also accused the New York businessmen of stirring racial animus during the Central Park 5 rape case in the 1980s. Native American groups criticized him for making derogatory remarks about tribes seeking to build casinos in the 1990s. Trump was also a leading voice of the birther conspiracy that baselessly claimed former President Barack Obama was from Africa and not an American citizen. He's also had lunch with neo-Nazis and pretended he didn't hear it.
Okay. So I wanted to get to the bulk of it because I wanted to take every accusation she made and go step by step through it. Because this is why this channel and channels like ours is very important, because we want to debunk the lies. We sat and watched Kamala Harris do the CNN interview. She said a bunch of lies. Joy Reid continues to push a bunch of lies. So I want to respond to what she said. Okay, so first I want to just get first response to what just the whole video. What are your thoughts, Shelley?
Well, my first thought was she automatically equates CRT with Black history. I don't even know how she got from the Platinum Plan to Black history. She was a little, I don't know, all over the place. But I really think that something is going on with Joy mentally. I do. It's particularly this last year. She is having a TDS breakdown. That's what I really think.
Yeah, she's nutty. She is nutty. What are your thoughts there, Shelley? I'm sorry, Yana.
You're on mute, Yana.
Sorry. So it's just crazy. Everything she had to do with race. So the whole thing, just everything is based on race, all her arguments. And she kept saying something like Black America. Like, we just have America. And that's the goal, is that we don't call it white America, Black America, Hispanic America. It shouldn't be like that. And that's what she and people on the left keep pushing for, this division. And that's what I really hated about this.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple of things here. The part where she's talking about and let me first respond to what you said, Yana. I agree. That's number one. We should not have any president that is basing their policies or saying what they're going to do for white people, what they're going to do for Black people. That should not be the language here. Now, if you want to say you're going to assist a certain, poverty-stricken people, middle class, something like that. But to just refer to people based off of their race is identity politics, and it's something that should not be done. It just shouldn't. All right, that's number one. Let's address her Platinum Plan stuff that she was saying. First, when Trump was in office back in he was elected in 2016. In 2018, he signed an executive order aimed at helping economically distressed communities, building off of a provision in his tax cut. Okay, right. His tax cut law. So the order created a White House panel dubbed the Opportunity and Revitalization Council, Revitalization Council, which was led by Ben Carson. Remember, guys can Google this. And basically, it was set up with 13. It was representatives there, right? And it was the opportunity zones, and so it was there to push government resources towards impoverished neighborhoods and things like that. That is what the opportunity zones did, and he did it when he was in office. So the Platinum Plan that was part of his plan when he was running for office was just a continuation of what he had already done. Right. Dummy.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Shelley.
Oh, I was gonna say, first of all, Joy doesn't. She mentioned this date 2020. Well, if the plan was initiated, the law was signed in 2017. Then the opportunity zones came out of that law. You're right. So 2020 would be you would have at least 2 or 3 years worth of data to find out, how the plan is doing, if it's working, if it's in the right direction, things like that. And also in 2020, this is from the U.S. EDA, the Economic Development Administration. And let me tell you what they said, quote, if you go to their page, it says, created by President Donald J. Trump's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, the opportunity zones are spurring economic development and job growth in economically distressed communities across the country. So I don't understand why she has this problem with 2020, trying to make it seem as if that was when it was first. No, she's lying. She's supposed to be, I don't know, a journalist, a pundit or whatever. She's trying to mislead you. Nobody institutes some kind of plan, particularly not in the federal government, at the same year or month, and then all of a sudden you have all this data to say, oh, it's just posted. She's lying.
Yeah, she's lying, and she's trying to misinform. It's a misinformation. Yes, he did put forth the platinum plan, which was part of his re-election plan. That was on his website, but it was something that was a continuation of what he had already done.
Exactly.
And he did call it, as far as the candidacy, he did say something about it was for Black people, whatever, but he was already helping people, impoverished people, and having economic hardships. If they were Black, white, yellow, purple, whatever, he was already helping it. And we saw that because we had more money in our pockets during the 4 years when he was in office.
Right.
She's a liar. And this is what I hope people aren't falling for, these lies and the way that she tries to word this stuff. Okay, I want to move on to something else she said regarding, again, they keep pushing this whole during the Central Park 9 and saying Trump was a racist and that he had what was it? That she said something about this federal government sued him for discrimination. They did, but they did not prove their case. They sued, but it was that he was not found guilty of discrimination.
Right.
See, they tell half truths.
Mm-hmm.
This is the platinum plan she was referring to. This was what was on his re-election site. This was part, if he was going to be reelected, this was something he put on here. And let us say, at least he had a website with his information on there.
Exactly.
We can't even go to Kamala Harris's site and find two plan, a gold plan, a silver plan. She don't have any plan on there. So, people, why don't she talk about that? And she mentions that a little bit more in that rant that she does, where she says, even though Kamala Harris doesn't have anything on her website, she knows her plan. She talks about it in her ads. And that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that Kamala doesn't have anything on her website, like if you were to go to a business and you want to check out like what they're about and you see it not like almost no information on there and they're asking for donations for some reason, you're gonna think it's a scam.
Yeah.
So like that, her website literally looks like a scam website.
It certainly does. And there was a political article out last week that mentioned, I don't think she's planning on putting anything on the website. They mentioned that the campaign was actually not going to put up her plan, was going to wait after the election and then put something up. Yeah,
So they literally can change anything at this point.
Absolutely.
We're gonna have a Marxist takeover. If they win, it's gonna be like, oh, everything I said was not what I actually meant because the end justifies the means.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. How can we hold her to account if she won't even put it on her website?
And let me say something about her newsstands on the wall. So all of a sudden she's saying that there should be a wall at the southern border. But what if they really want to take over the control of this country, turn this into some sort of dystopian Marxist country, and the wall is to keep us in?
Right.
We can't go anywhere anymore.
Oh, I believe that you remember these communists, they want us to only drive or live within certain size homes, drive a certain distance. Oh, that is very much, very possibility.
People in the Soviet Union couldn't leave.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah. I want to acknowledge our super chatters. Guys, thank you so much. Jude says Joyless Reid has a PhD in racism and a gold medal in Victim Olympics. Quite an accomplishment. Yep, exactly. Thank you, Jude. Jason, Joy Reid is garbage. She is pure trash.
I'm sorry, that video is just scary looking.
Yeah.
Scary.
Rhonda, thank you so much,
you, Rhonda.
Rhonda. Says, ladies, I love you. Keep up the awesome job you are doing. We are fighting good and evil. Yes, we are. Yes. Jude, thank you so much. Joy Reid forgets that she and her network were busy pushing the Russia collusion hoax, which kept Trump busy for most of his term. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. That's why Joy, I think, is cracking up, because all the tricks that they use, all of the tricks and the trickery, the corruption they tried, he is still here. He's running. I mean, damn it. They even tried to kill the man.
Yeah, they did. I mean, it's absurd all that he has gone through. And we see that it was a bunch of lies. And now they're still continuing. We mentioned this on last week's show. Now they're back to pushing, taking him to court again, a new indictment, federal indictment by Jack Smith. I mean, the list goes on. All the while, these people do not care about Americans, and which is seen in the interview that Nancy Pelosi did on with Bill Maher this week. And so this is, I mean, this is ridiculous what she's talking about doing here. Let me see here. Take a look at this.
The California lawmakers just passed a law. It hasn't been signed by Governor Newsom, but giving government assistance to undocumented immigrants to buy houses. That's kind of a different place than the Democratic Party used to be on immigration, is it not? I'm not going to say that's what the country's going to do, but that's certainly where California is.
Well, let me just say, immigration had always been a bipartisan issue. I refer you to
But not free houses.
Well, that's not free housing. It's the American dream being available to more people. But understand this about immigration. The best speech on immigration was by President Ronald Reagan. This is the last speech I will make as President of the United States. I want to communicate a message to the country I love. And he talked about the Statue of Liberty and the beacon of hope it is to the world, and what America was preeminent in the world because our door was always open, and we will cease to be preeminent when we shut the door. Now, I don't do justice to the great communicator. Google it. It's a fabulous speech. And George Herbert Walker Bush continued in that respect for the diversity of America and the rest. California's always in the lead. Maybe others will follow that lead, but that's up to those states. But we are very blessed here with beautiful diversity.
So you'd vote for this law?
Excuse me?
So you'd vote for this law?
Well, I'm not familiar with exactly what it is, but making the American dream of home ownership available to all people is something we have to do for people who are here now.
This is before you're into this. This is undocumented. This is for the undocumented.
Well, what I would like to do is move them to documented. The fact that we can move them to documented. One of the best things that we can do for our economy is to pass comprehensive immigration reform.
Wow. All right. You can't get me clearer than that.
Nope.
We're losing our country, folks. Shelley, what are your thoughts here?
Again, we talked about this before. She made a point about basically President Ronald Reagan and George Bush, when some Republicans have signed bills to allow what they call legal amnesty or amnesty for illegals. I disagree with that. Now, granted, that was done. However, she has misrepresented President Reagan, basically insinuating that he's saying, oh, all illegals just come and, flood our country and you'll be welcome here. That is not what he said. That is not what he advocated. Getting people legal, making them legal while they're already here is one thing, but inviting illegals to come and to still be illegal, that's a whole different thought, and that's what she's doing. Like Joy Reid, she is misconstruing on purpose what she's saying.
Yeah. First of all, that was a totally different time as well. You know, we have embarked on a time period right now where we have been overrun by illegals. I mean, from the border and things like that. We didn't have these issues when Reagan was in, not even when Bush was in, not as bad as it is right now. And so, you know, for her to make that statement, and again, Reagan was not talking about illegals. He was not talking about illegals. She was. I want to get your thoughts on this, Shelley. Yana.
It's embarrassing, the fact that this lady is talking about comparing Reagan and his speech about immigrants who were coming to this country to make it their new home, to be Americans, and who actually came here and they worked really hard for things that they wanted. They were not just given things. Like, that was never the case. I mean, the first people who settled, some of the first people who settled here, they actually had to come as indentured servants, and they had to work for free in order to stay here. And so immigrants later on, I mean, they lived in very poor conditions just to make it. And now, I mean, she's advertising to the whole world that just come here, we'll give you a house, and then we'll make you legal. So like, you come here legally, you break the law, and then we make you legal. So she's advertising her yeah, like it's like a commercial, you know, for Democrats. You know, come here, we'll make you legal, and then you're gonna vote for us.
Yeah, this is scary. I mean, I think she even shocked Bill Maher because he was not expecting her to take that stance. He was trying to make a difference between legal and illegal. He was like, but they're undocumented. And she was like, well, I want to make the undocumented legal. I want to make them documented. I mean, he was even shocked. He had to ask her. He was like, you're not saying that this is what you want the country, the whole country to do, because he was saying this is happening in California. Kamala Harris will want to do this. She's going to do this. And he's saying, you're not saying that you want this for the whole country. Pelosi saying, yes, we do. That's not the American dream. Is about freedom. It's about fighting for your rights. It's about fighting for what is yours. I mean, and again, we're going to talk about this. We watched that Reagan movie, and they were about hard work. It's not just you come here, you take and just take. It's not about that.
Yeah, another way she's misconstruing what President Reagan and other Republicans, agree. Again, amnesty in the United States was one thing, but definitely President Reagan, one of his main themes of being a president was like spreading freedom around the world. Therefore, if other countries, particularly the Soviet Union, if you break down the walls of communism, you can spur economic and social freedom in your country, then there's no need for you to come to America illegally, because you will have those opportunities in your countries. Your countries will be built up from a capitalist model. You will have the freedom, the finances to support your country, your family in your country, to make your countries better. So this is a whole misconstruing of the whole theme, if you will, particularly of President Reagan's presidency, or maybe his life.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, about that, so Kamala said something also about going to other countries and somehow helping them and their economies, so the people don't come here. I don't think that's a good idea. Like, I don't really agree with that. Like, I don't think it's America's responsibility to go to other countries and help them in anything. It's their job, their responsibility to take care of their economies, of make their choices, regardless of who the leader is. I think that a country can choose to have a communist president. A communist leader. That's their choice. Like that's democracy. They will realize eventually their mistake. Like that's what's going on in Venezuela and in Cuba. So I don't think it was really right for America to go and try to change regimes. Like I don't agree with that.
And we have a snippet of the Reagan speech. I want you guys to take a look at this. Here it is.
Sure that we can identify the illegal aliens, but also, while some keep protesting about what it would do to employers, there is another employer that we shouldn't be so concerned about. And these are employers down through the years who have encouraged the illegal entry into this country because they then hire these individuals and hire them at starvation wages and with none of the benefits that we think are normal and natural for workers in our country. And the individuals can't complain because of their illegal status. We don't think that those people should be allowed to continue operating free. And this was why the provisions that we had in with regard to sanctions and so forth. And I'm going to do everything I can, and all of us in the administration are, to join in again, when Congress is back at it, to get an immigration bill that will give us once again control of our borders. And with regard to friendship below the border and with the countries down there, yes, no administration that I know has established the relationship that we have with our Latin friends. But as long as they have an economy that leaves so many people in dire poverty and unemployment, they are going to seek that employment across our borders, and we work with those other countries.
Okay.
President Reagan.
Yeah, and that was a different speech, but again, it's along the same lines of what we are saying. And this is a different time. And this is not, Kamala Harris and the Democrats are not talking about that. They're literally talking about bringing in millions of undocumented, illegal immigrants to vote for them. And then they want to push communism on them and the entire country. This is what this is. And as we know, Ronald Reagan was largely against communism. He fought for freedom. And so this is what they're trying to do. This is what they're trying to remake our country. This is what it is.
And he even said we still have to protect our borders. He even said that. He even just said basically, their country, if they have the economic development, then their country will thrive too. So he's basically saying that again, the amnesty when you were already here, the amnesty for the illegals who were already in the country is different than allowing and opening the borders to just come on in and take over. That's two different things. There was a healthy debate among Republicans, conservatives, Democrats, liberals. There was a healthy debate at that time against the Republicans, for the Republicans, when they put forth the amnesty bill. But they never were they saying open the borders.
Right. And never has it been this bad. I mean, at this point, we cannot even, do any type of amnesty for people who have
they'll keep on coming. They will keep on coming. So it's like it's gonna be endless.
Right.
If you have to stop the flow.
Right.
And the only way to stop it is to have that wall, to have really good border security, and also stop saying that there's gonna be literally like incentives for them to come here, because then more and more people, like a person will risk their life to cross that desert and the river and all that horrible things that are happening there in order to get a free house in America. Like, of course.
And we have a homeless issue going on right now in cities across the country. I mean, inflation is skyrocketing. Americans need help. Not to say, this is even a good plan, but again, they're talking about giving up to $150,000 to illegals, undocumented illegals in California for homes. help me understand, why would anyone vote for these people? We are in dire needs right now in our country. Many people, hardworking Americans, are struggling, and they want to give Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris, all of them want to give our hardworking tax-paying dollars to illegals.
And while they have been doing it, they're definitely doing it in New York, in Chicago, in California. They are doing it, and again, until the American people stand up and say enough. No more will our money, go wherever you want it to go. No, you're going to have to give an account to us. It's going to have to be the other way around, not us just, saying, okay, we got to give you a list of every damn thing that we make every year down to the penny. Because if you you mispay your taxes for some reason, just a legitimate mistake, but by the end of the year, you're getting letters from the IRS saying you owe this plus interest and penalties.
Yeah, it's terrible. It is terrible what they're doing, and this is why we're here. We want to. I know people say, "Oh, I don't want to watch MSNBC and things like this." We have to watch it, because what's happening is the media is spreading these lies. Across all streams of news. And people, unfortunately, are believing it. They're believing this stuff. So we have to look at this stuff, and we have to fact check it and debunk it. Because if not, this stuff will be spread like it's true. And again, we have to break down things like what Nancy Pelosi just said. I mean, my goodness. So
these are like that sounds like an enemy of this country. Like when I was listening, and especially after watching the Reagan movie, I'm like, is she a plant? Who is she working for? Sometimes I wonder, these people who are in our government, like whose agents are they?
Oh, absolutely. And that takes us to the Reagan movie that we saw today. Before we get into it, I want to acknowledge our super chatters here. Guys, thank you so much. Let me see here. I have LAPD Squad.
Hey.
Yes, says the elites don't care. Summit of the Future next month at the UN. Joy looks like an acorn head.
You keep reminding us, LA. So keep reminding us. Don't let us forget.
Yeah, we have it on our radar. Absolutely. Krista. Hey, Krista.
Thank you, Krista.
Says, thank you for this debunk episode. 2 days in a row, friends say, how dare I now support Trump? They won't listen to what I want to say. Wow. Yeah, we got to keep doing it. We do. Thank you so much, Krista. Jason. Thank you, Jason. Says Kamala Harris is drunk every time we see her, hence the slurring and cackling. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't
like it.
We have one more. I think we have Rebel Without a Reason. Here we go.
Oh, thank you so much, Rebel. Says Biden ran his entire presidency like this. He did. He did. Yeah, and this takes us to the Reagan movie. We, all three of us, went earlier today and saw Reagan with Dennis Quaid as playing Reagan, Penelope Ann Miller as Nancy Reagan, and John Voight as well. So it was a really good movie. Very nostalgic. I want to get you ladies' thoughts on that. Shelley, what did you think?
I thought the movie was, I'm going to say, very documentary-ish, right? I thought it was a good movie. I do think there was some parts, and I guess that's just in the making. Some parts were longer than they should have been, and I would like to have seen other parts a little bit longer than they were.
Yeah. What do you think, Yana? And I thought it was cool you were going, because a lot of the movie depicted this time period in U.S. against the Soviet Union.
That was the theme. That was the theme of the film. His, I guess, relationship with the Soviet Union and his understanding of what communists were doing around the world and in America specifically. So I think that's why there were parts that they showed very briefly about his time in office, like about the AIDS epidemic and the flight attend, like the FAA situation. So I think those were mentioned, but that was not what the film was about. Like it was specifically like the Cold War, and so it really focused on that, and it was from the perspective of a Russian person who was a psychologist in the KGB. So that was really interesting. That was from a Russian person's perspective, a Soviet, former Soviet person's perspective. So it was emotional for me. I cried.
Oh, I didn't even. You cried?
Yes.
Oh.
It was really emotional for me because it was, I mean, that time in history, I mean, it's emotional for Russians because it's a very difficult history, and also the fact that, I mean, I want the two countries to get along like that, and like when I see, this desire to get along, like they showed from Reagan and Gorbachev, and really Gorbachev struggling, and like I know the backstory of that, how the leaders of the Soviet Union, because I mean, people don't see the leaders of the Soviet Union the same. Americans don't see them the same as I do. I mean, I see them as human beings who also cared about their country.
Right.
So, and to see that and like that struggle, and then finally coming to an understanding, but I mean, there was definitely a cost to and like knowing what happened in Russia. I mean, it's a good thing, but it's also a difficult, very difficult time.
Yeah.
It was, I thought, like I said, it was well done for the most part, more so like you mentioned, Shelley, of a documentary style movie. But it was very nostalgic. I remember they talked about, they went through the Berlin Wall and Reagan's his push on that to knock down the Berlin Wall. And but the major theme, like you all mentioned, was how he was a crusader. They called him the Great Crusader against communism. And it was so timely, I felt. It was so timely, the way that they talked about how he saw communism very early on, and not just about Soviets, but he realized that they were trying to infiltrate the U.S. In very subversive ways, and he called it out, and that was his driving force, because he realized that communism is anti-freedom.
Yeah,
and he saw that it was. Sorry, I just gotta say he noticed that it was the actors, that the influencers that were infiltrated by communists.
Yeah, that was one of the things that really impressed me in that movie, when they showed the young Reagan, and he was the president of the SGA in Hollywood, and it really impressed upon me when we say deep state. We really, I mean, it's that real. The communists have infiltrated America, every industry, every institution, including Hollywood, entertainment, whatever institution. But they are so embedded in one of the, I'm not quoting the narrator, but the narrator said something to the fact that he was talking about the Soviets. From their perspective, they didn't just want to take over America from without. They wanted to infiltrate it from within to bring it down. And they are deeply, if you will, deeply embedded in many institutions.
Right. And he also, Reagan, he was very good at pointing out, we are fighting, the communism fight is against religion also. Religion is a major factor. Faith-based religion is a major combatant against communism. And so this is why we got to call this stuff out. When we see and you hear Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris talking about giving this money to undocumented immigrants, they're trying to push communism. They're trying to do that. It's not even trying. They are. This is what they're doing.
They're implementing socialism,
right?
And socialism is a precursor of communism. So they want to, have all these social programs, and also the fact that they're always talking about like these racial groups and other oppressed groups. That's very, that's what Marxists always talk about. Like we need to, I don't know, help the oppressed, and then and take away from those that have, like the have and the have nots. You got to like transfer income. Like that is all Marxism. And then that they're bringing all these perverse ideas of transgenderism, homosexuality, and people are not allowed to speak against it, even though it goes against people's religious beliefs. Like that's what communists are doing nowadays. Like, so what I was thinking is that once the Soviet Union collapsed, lots of ideologues, the Marxists, they didn't disappear. They actually like spread around the world. In fact, more of them were able to spread, and they just infiltrated all these different institutions, especially the academic institutions.
Right. And one great image or kind of concept that I got out of the movie Reagan is how he undid the doctrine when he took the communist doctrine, when he took an aggressive stand against what he called the evil empire by backing freedom fighters from all over the world. So, and he was pushing this idea of freedom and knocking down barriers to that. And that's what we have to continue to do here as Americans. We have an Australian audience on here, people in the UK. We see this communism is taking hold all across the country. The world. And we all need to come together as freedom fighters, as truth seekers, to knock it down and knock down their hold on it. The way that they're trying to get us with these social programs, with this divisive racial talk and baiting, the way that they're trying to redo our history with this 1619 project and push and say that, make us unpatriotic. All this is leading us to communism.
Yeah, the 1619 project, and that Joy Reid mentioned it. And she said, like, how Trump wants to remove it from schools. Well, the thing is that critical race theory and 1619 project does not help children. It does not teach them to value themselves. It doesn't help America. It's really a divisive agenda.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
It was really emotional. Like, I'm still emotional from the movie, especially like there was one part where this young, I don't know who he was, but one of the Russians is asking, well, what happened, why our motherland collapsed or something, or why we lost our motherland. And the psychologist, the former KGB psychologist, he says communism is not our motherland.
Right.
And that was really powerful for me. He said, your motherland is here. Oh my God, I'm getting emotional.
Oh.
And he showed like all these classic writers, authors, like they were pre-communist authors that he showed on the walls. And they showed an icon, a Christian icon as well in his home. So that showed also the change that happened in Russia.
Right. Yana, one thing I want to, you mentioned how, Russians, that was a difficult period. And of course, every country, the citizens of that country, many of them will see their leaders differently than outside countries, right? So, but I remember when the Berlin Wall came down, when President Reagan gave that speech, I remember Gorbachev being well received in America at that for a period. I mean, he was... So, I mean, to me, it goes to show that at least that glimpse that America or Americans, we are very forgiving. We are very forgiving. In general, we are very forgiving people, because when that wall came down, Gorbachev was pretty much celebrated and supported by Americans that he was doing a good thing.
Yeah. Well, wow. So definitely, guys, we encourage you to go out and see the movie Reagan. Again, that's what we're talking about. We saw this today. Want to acknowledge our super chatters here. LAPD SWAT says, do you believe Putin is a Christian? Yana, what is your thoughts on that?
Yes. I mean, he says he's a Christian, so he is.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. We got to come together and fight this whole communism. We really do. And we always talk about this on the show. The communists put out back in 1943, 45 communist goals. I think it was 1940 or 1963. It may have been. They and one of the goals was to infiltrate education, infiltrate our government, all of these things, and they're on their way to do that. They're certainly on their way.
They're already here.
Yeah,
they've been here.
Yeah. So we got to call them out. Do I have any more super chatters here? I want to make sure I don't miss anyone. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for hanging in with us. Again, this is Poppin' Politics. We will be back on Monday nights to go over all of the trending news and pop culture. Of course, from a conservative perspective, I want to leave you, again, as we've mentioned, we saw the Reagan movie today. I want to leave you with this this speech of his, and take a look.
Been together 8 years now, and soon it'll be time for me to go. But before I do, I wanted to share some thoughts, some of which I've been saving for a long time. It's been the honor of my life to be your president. So many of you have written the past few weeks to say thanks, but I could say as much to you. Nancy and I are grateful for the opportunity you gave us to serve. One of the things about the presidency is that you're always somewhat apart. You spend a lot of time going by too fast in a car someone else is driving and seeing the people through tinted glass, the parents holding up a child and the wave you saw too late and couldn't return. And so many times I wanted to stop and reach out from behind the glass and connect. Well, maybe I can do a little of that tonight. People ask how I feel about leaving, and the fact is, parting is such sweet sorrow. The sweet part is California and the ranch and freedom. The sorrow, the goodbyes, of course, and leaving this beautiful place. You know, down the hall and up the stairs from this office is the part of the White House where the president and his family live. There are a few favorite windows I have up there that I like to stand and look out of early in the morning. The view is over the grounds here to the Washington Monument and then the Mall and the Jefferson Memorial. But on mornings when the humidity is low, you can see past the Jefferson to the river, the Potomac, and the Virginia shore. Someone said that's the view Lincoln had when he saw the smoke rising from the Battle of Bull Run. Well, I see more prosaic things. The grass on the banks, the morning traffic as people make their way to work, now and then a sailboat on the river. I've been thinking a bit at that window. I've been reflecting on what the past 8 years have meant and mean. And the image that comes to mind like a refrain is a nautical one. A small story about a big ship and a refugee and a sailor. It was back in the early 80s, at the height of the boat people, and the sailor was hard at work on the carrier Midway, which was patrolling the South China Sea. The sailor, like most American servicemen, was young, smart, and fiercely observant. The crew spied on the horizon a leaky little boat, and crammed inside were refugees from Indochina hoping to get to America. The Midway sent a small launch to bring them to the ship in safety. As the refugees made their way through the choppy seas, one spied the sailor on deck and stood up and called out to him. He yelled, "Hello, American sailor. Hello, freedom man." A small moment for the big man, a moment